to be the man, you gotta beat the man right here.
Is the future of wrestling. You can call this the new world order of wrestling, brother.
Nobody is on my level. Everything I touch turns to gold.
Believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
Let's get into it. Impact Wrestling, Hard to Kill pay-per-view tonight from Center Stage, Atlanta, Georgia. And tonight, I'll tell you, they pulled out what would be one of their consistently, it's a consistent pay-per-view. Like the performance, what we got of the matches tonight, that's what they definitely do. They definitely have a very veteran roster, which they do headline quite a bit when it comes to having Josh Alexander and Jordynne Grace be the faces of your company. And they've been like that for a while. And they decided to go with two veterans to go ahead and jump into the contenders or the opponents category, but they did it in different ways. Bully Ray getting in with the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match and using that shot to go ahead and take on Josh Alexander when he wanted to. And Mickie James doing her last rodeo, her last ride to possible retirement, and working through all the roster to get to Jordynne Grace. So the way they got there to work that storyline across, over months, that makes sense. It all works out. The build for both matches was fine. I didn't have an issue with that. It's just that it is two characters we've seen a lot of. I mean, the fact that we're seeing Mickie James and Bully Ray back out there, it feels like it's what, TNA 2014, 2015 again? I mean, it was part of that thing. And I mean, if they have to go back to those stars to kind of build the other stars, well, that's what he decided to do. Josh Alexander continues his longest reign as the Impact World Champion. Great. That makes sense. And I guess you don't have anybody else. I mean, if you're going to have somebody else leading up to take on Josh Alexander down the line, I think you got to put Steve Maclin in that category. And you know what? The fact that Speedball Mike Bailey had a 60-minute match with Josh Alexander and doesn't get a rematch or nothing's been planned out for him down the line, and then you put him in the pre-show of all things. That was part of the thing I was just kind of really curious about. But they decided not to do that. They decided that Steve Maclin and Rich Swann have their issues taken out in a, Falls Count Anywhere match. Okay. Which they taped. One of our first theatrical matches we've had in a long time. We haven't had anything that was pre-taped and put together and planned like that in a long time. So it'd be nice to see some of that once again, but we know that for some people it feels like 2020 and they don't want to have that, so I get that part. But I don't mind those kind of matches. Especially when it came here, they did it where part of the match was theatrical, it was planned, and then you saw him back in the ring at the end of the match, which I like those matches. That's okay. And Mickie James, once again, Knockouts World Champion, fine. I mean, they did a good match with him. They gave him a lot of time. They gave him, and also the placements in the matches. Title versus career, Knockouts World title gets the main event. Meanwhile, you curtain jerk the world title. But I get what they're trying to do because it was one of those things where Mickie James does get the chance to get into this match, and they go across the board, and she gets to win. So it felt like there was a happy way to go and get into that. But they did kind of just go that route and said, okay, started the pay-per-view, another pay-per-view, we're going to go this route. I'm not going to go too long into this. I just want to point out there's a couple of places where I just see the older guard here at Impact Wrestling. There's a lot of veterans that kind of get played back from what everybody else is going on, and I just don't get that part. But I know what it is. I think Scott D'Amore just has that thing where it's like, listen, get these veteran stars, get them hot and, get them ready with the belts, and then you get somebody young to take them and put them over. I get it. Okay. So that's what they're trying to do here. So with that said, 6-way match, Kushida defeating Angels, Delirious, Mike Bailey, and Mike Jackson, and Yuya Uemura, and then Trey Miguel over Black Taurus, and the X Division title match is in the pregame show. Wow. But, that's just where Trey Miguel's being held onto that belt, but they're not doing much with him because any of the X Division stars that could have been, they've kind of taken them away into other areas, including having the Impact World Tag Team titles. And you could put Ace Austin or Chris Bay, but you know what? They're kind of above and beyond that now. They've won those belts before. That's not what the focus is here. And you start with the match. 17 minutes to go with Josh Alexander beating Bully Ray by submission. Full Metal Mayhem. Listen, hardcore match. I mean, Bully Ray gets the upper hand. Josh Alexander comes back, and then Josh Alexander is going to get pinned up and tied up on the ropes. His wife gets involved to try to stop things, and then they give her a couple of moves. First of all, dirtiest point of the game. Let's put the fist up in between the legs, and let's give her sliced bread, right? And then after that, Josh Alexander gets a submission to win. And they definitely played up Bully Ray being such a chicken shit heel. The original Bully Ray character was in full force tonight. It's just an older version of him. But, he still gets that crowd up. The announcers played it really well. I'll give it that. I'm just a little tired because I keep seeing Bully Ray, when I saw my NWA and he's doing his thing out there. It just doesn't, I was interested in him when they had him going after Flip Gordon because it's a young guy. And honestly, I think Flip Gordon benefited from his feud with Bully Ray in Ring of Honor towards the end of that run there. I think he did benefit from that. And, Josh Alexander, they gave this here a tougher opponent. Don't want to give somebody who was like more devious opponent than before, more so than Moose, more so than Sami Callihan or whatever that might be. So there's that part. Sami Callihan not in the show. Nothing but Violent by Design on this show. That's interesting. But they're building up to that now. Then you got Motor City Machine Guns. Of who they have out there. First of all, 2 former WWE tag teams. Well, one in Heath and Rhino. The other is Brian Myers and Matt Cardona. So you see him at this show. Are we going to see them at Royal Rumble like everybody's kind of talking about? No, I don't know. Matt Cardona, they're talking about he might be there. We'll see. But I'm still surprised Bullet Club was not the ones that got this here. But what they should do is to split it off. Let's go to the Machine Guns and Bullet Club. Let's get them on tag team and a tag team feud. Let's start on that. Joe Hendry and Moose for the Impact Digital Media Championship. Listen, I don't care for this. I just don't. This belt, it's whatever. Joe Hendry, never been into that character at all. I get it. I just don't care. Such a novelty act. Doesn't matter. I didn't like it when he was with Christy Hemme back in the day. I don't care about it now. It just doesn't matter. And Moose in this spot here, he wins, and then Santino Marella all of a sudden is now director. What is it? It's director of security or something. I forget what he is now. Some director of something or other. I forget the name of it. But Santino Marella as the Santino Marella character. Ugh. Do we want to bring him back? Who asked? Listen, I know Anthony Corelli's good, and he can still. Could we have just given him a different character? Why do we have to go back to Santino? I would rather have him come out as something else, but I guess if he has the trademark to Santino Marella, he can do it. He can use it out there. Whatever floats his boat. The crowd got into it. I didn't care. It didn't make a difference to me. But they reverse the decision, and then Joe Hendry gets the win in 14 minutes. Way too much time for this match. They only get about 9 minutes for the Knockouts World Title Contenders match, where Masa Slamovich, who's been near that top spot of winning the belt, she's now back up there again. She lost to Jordynne Grace in her chance at a title shot, but this time around she beat Deonna Purrazzo, Killer Kelly, and Taylor Wilde, and now she's #1 contender. So Mickie and Masha, that's the next feud there for the women's knockout women's title. And Steve Maclin and Rich Swann, that's an 11-minute match, and Steve Maclin wins. So the most important thing is Steve Maclin wins. I still think there's something of an upside with him to build him up higher. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know whether they're going to do that, but like they've kept Steve Maclin on the back burner for over a year now. It's time to start putting him up a little bit higher up the card. Like they've had him in some other feuds and all kind of involved. Like either the Honor No More feud, that right there, where like if he was a traitor or not. Because I don't know if Steve Maclin's meant to be like a baby face and they're going to put him up into that main event area or something. I don't know what. But You got to build that guy up. There's got to be something more to him. Steve Michaels good. You could build off that guy and do something more, but they haven't done that yet. It's like a Moose build. They like to build their stars slow. Okay, well, they're doing a slow burn on this guy. I wish they'd kind of heat it up. Eddie Edwards over Jonathan Gresham, and then after the match, Eddie Edwards wins, and PCO, who we haven't seen in a while since he got thrown in the desert in Vegas after the whole Honor No More burial. And now PCO's back, and him and Eddie Edwards are probably going to go hardcore now, and we'll get back to that again. Okay. And I guess Gresham, does he stay around? I guess he doesn't. I guess he moves along because he's still a Ring of Honor guy. And now that the Ring of Honor's got the TV show, I guess they're going to just move along with that. How about that, huh? Honor No More gets kind of thrown away and blown up by Jonathan Gresham. And then Eddie Edwards is able to go and get the win back. I don't get that part. Okay. And Mickie James, title versus career. I actually thought Mickie James was going to go ahead and retire. I didn't have any thought in my mind that Jordynne Grace was going to drop that belt. They had a great match. And that was the match of the night. It was really well done. A lot of good near falls. Straight up. 19 minutes with these two. It was worthy of the main event. And indicative. One of the best women's matches I've seen in a while. We haven't seen a lot of great women's matches as of late. I mean, maybe go back to WrestleMania last year with Bianca Belair. But, I mean, really, this was solid. And it's indicative of Impact Wrestling, as they always do well with the Knockouts division. It is the most consistently good thing they have. And once again, proved positive. Wonderful. So I like all of that part too. Now, other than that, there's a whole lot of other stars that were not part of All Things. So it's like, okay, we will wait and see where they're going to move on with things. But like I said, Frankie Kazarian is now back with Impact Wrestling on a full-time contract. With the fact that he was doing so well in AEW on Dark, and they were just, he was getting over, as he always does. They're bringing him back. What does that mean? I mean, does Kazarian now kind of move up towards the ladder, and he becomes next to go after Josh Alexander? I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can go with him. I mean, Kazarian's just a good hand. He is, we already knew how good of a star he was before and how important he was on that roster anyway. But my thing is right now, it's just seeing, okay, what do we do with Kazarian now? what feuds is he going to be a part of? I can see them transiting him into Moose or Steve McCallahan or with the whole Violent by Design. I can see a lot of different things. But he's back now, single star, no more SCU, no more anything of tag teams. It's just him. And he's going to try to they might just go ahead and try to put a world title on him. After all said and done, which is fine with me. He's still rocking it, man. He still can go, and there's a lot of veteran a lot of old school fans would love to see Frankie Kazarian make his way back up to that world title again. Why not? Wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. Just build it, get him back up there, take on the roster, see what happens. I wouldn't mind to see that. But there's not only young stars here. I don't like that Mike Bailey took a step back here now into that 6-way match that he had. I would like to see Mike Bailey get back into that X Division title run, back after that title, and go after Trey Miguel. I'd love to see that. And, X Division is taking a little bit of a backseat. We didn't have the Women's World Tag Team titles tonight. I know they defended it before. Now, it was supposed to be a pre-show with the Death Dolls and Giselle Shaw, taking on Giselle Shaw, Savannah Evans, and Tasha Steelz in a non-title six knockouts tag team match. But we didn't see that. That was in the match they were supposed to have, but I guess they didn't have that. Okay. So overall, the show is good. It's just they're running right now off of a lot of veteran talent of who they can get. And something tells me, too, that we're going to probably see some stars that came from Impact. They're going to probably make their way over to Royal Rumble. I would not be surprised if I see Brian Myers and Matt Cardona make their way over. Maybe Matt Cardona's on his way over there now. That could very well be. But, there were some other stars on the roster they're not really focusing on at the moment. And they got to just change things around because that whole Honor No More storyline took up so much time last year. Let's just see what happens. Overall, still good night of action. And one thing, too, is that when you look at the fact that WWE right now is taking on a lot more talent, AEW is taking a lot more talent. I mean, really, what is there left? They're not really necessarily taking on new stars, but I think that's going to change. Because now that Scott D'Amore gets to go down to Mexico and Canada this year for Impact Wrestling tapings, that's great. Like, they're going to go down to, they're going to go to Winnipeg, I think, right? To do tapings now with Border City Wrestling, I guess it is, and they'll go back down for AAA stuff. They'll finally get back on the road again. Outside of the U.S. That's good news. Now they got a chance to look at some other stars, just like they did with Josh Alexander, just like they did with Mike Bailey, just like they did with Black Taurus. When you see some of these stars, they get a chance to showcase over in Mexico or Canada, then they get a chance to see some other stars that might have a chance to shine. That's the whole point. And Scott D'Amore will be able to go and scout some talent along with the others. Tommy Dreamer, who else? I like that. Let's do that. That's my Impact Wrestling post show for tonight. We'll just leave it like there. See, Stephanie McMahon, she underwent knee surgery right after she stepped down as co-CEO. So there's that. And all I know is that Rampage I watched tonight, which I really get to watch live. All I can tell you is that Ty Conti, Anna Jay, Willow Nightingale, and Ruby Soho match, man, that was a hardcore match, but also a very sloppy hardcore match. And I'm wondering if Anna Jay even is okay after that table spot. Plus, Ty Conti with the very faint chair shots, things like that. Just wow. I wish Rampage was on a different night. But Friday nights is where they are. That kind of sucks. I would have been out in the movies tonight, but everything kind of changed because you can hear my voice is a little bit stuffy. I had a little bit of like a relapse of the allergies kind of kicking back in because the weather's changed out here again. Now it's cold again. Well, our cold. Low, it'll be like mid 40s tonight, 60s tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow morning. Anyways, on Saturday. So there's that. Well, it's essentially Saturday night, 4:30 a.m. All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks for listening in, catching the show as you always do. Come back for another Wrestling is Real podcast because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling is Real podcast. Find past episodes anytime at wrestlingisreal.com or subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or all major podcast distributors. Follow at King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.